In the last section, we successfully executed a YouTube search by using our API key and the search term surfboards. So let's continue in this section by doing a pretty close examination of our app component right here. Before we go any farther, I'm going to clean up the components in here just to clean things up a little bit. You can certainly leave the comments if you want to. And I'm also going to condense everything in here. Okay, looks a little bit better now. Okay, in this section, we're going to start by refactoring the app component from a functional component to a class-based component. We're going to do this to make sure that the app can keep track of the list of videos. It's going to keep track of the list of videos by recording them on its state. So remember, whenever we start to use state, we want to be able to, or we need to have a class-based component. And we want to use state here because this is some amount of data that's going to change over time, and we want it to persist throughout the application, throughout its life cycle. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. And this refactoring process is going to probably very quickly, you're going to get used to it very quickly. So at the very top, we first need to import the component object so we can extend from it. So we'll add component like so. Next, instead of defining a const, we'll define a class. And it's going to extend component. And then we're going to add a render method. So we'll do an indent there and close the curly brace like so. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. This shouldn't break, going from a functional component to a class-based component shouldn't break anything. So I'm going to save this and let's do a quick refresh. And it looks like I did make a mistake. Let's see if we can't find what it is. Looks like I used extend instead of extends. If you ever make a syntax error, by the way, you can check the npm start process and it'll give you a very nicely formatted indication of exactly what went wrong. So we'll write extends like so. And we're good to go. Here's my input and I still have my console log for the videos. Okay, so this looks good. So our list of videos is going to be changing over time. Right now it's a list of 5 videos, but as people search for data, or as the user types stuff in to search, we want to update it with the new list of 5 videos. So data changing over time, well, sounds like a great use for state, right? So whenever a user enters some new search input, we need to conduct a new search and set the results of that search on state. So that means that we're going to need to set up our constructor function. We'll add a new line in here. Let's call constructor. Constructor always gets called with props, and we'll talk more about props here very shortly. And then we'll call super with props like so. And then we're going to default our state here. So we'll say this.state equals an empty object. So the last time that we used state, it was in the search bar, and the property that we used, the name was term. And that really, was supposed to represent search term. The property name of state here, whatever property name that we use here is totally up to us. But in general, we want to have it, be something that really makes sense. In this case, I think that calling it videos will probably make sense. And it's going to be an array because it's going to contain a list of videos, a list of objects. So now, whenever our app first pops up, we don't really want to have a totally empty list here, right? It'd be great if the user could immediately see some data pop up right away. So to do that, we're going to move this search function right here into the constructor. And then we're going to kill some new lines there, like so. Okay, so now whenever the app first boots up and we get an instance of app on the screen, the constructor will run right away, because we make a new instance of app, and that will immediately kick off a search with the term surfboards. Then the callback function data will be called with the list of videos. So this right here is the opportunity that we're going to have, this callback function, the success right here, is our opportunity to update this.state with the new list of videos. So we'll call this dot set state videos is data. Cool. This is looking pretty good right now, but let's make one more small refactor. Instead of using the function keyword here, I'm going to flip it out to a fat arrow function instead. So I'm going to delete the function keyword and we'll just use the fat arrow instead. Besides that, no other change. All right, so now notice that the object that we're passing to, that we're passing to this dot set state has a key of videos, and the value is data. And we've really got control over the name of that data argument. This doesn't need to be data. It could also be like foo or oranges, right? We could also make it videos, which really makes a lot of sense because it is an array of videos, right? So when we have an object like this where the key and the value are identical terms, we can make use of a nice little bit of ES6 syntax to compact this line even more. Whenever we have a key and the value where it's the same exact string, we can actually condense this to just be curly braces and then the name of the variable. When we're using ES6, this will get resolved as this dot set state videos. Again, this is just something that we do, a little bit of syntactic sugar just to clean up our code a little bit. And it only works when the key and the property are the same variable name. You'll see this advanced syntax like this very frequently in example React apps. You'll see stuff like this all the time. So, in general, it might seem kind of confusing right now, but I highly recommend you start, you try to at least give it a chance, try to get used to it a little bit. It'll really clean up your code in the long run. Okay, so our app is looking pretty good now. It's now a class-based component. We define the constructor function. The list of videos on state starts as an empty array, but the instant that the component is rendered, it kicks off a search, and when the search is complete, it will update the value of videos, this.state.videos with a new list of videos. Okay, so we now have access to the videos on state. Let's continue fleshing out the app inside of video detail inside the next section.